Here we go. UK Crime Book Club, Wednesday night. Where has this week gone already? And absolutely thrilled. I've been very, very excited to have you on, Effie, on your own. Not a
Thank you.
panel this time, got you all to myself.
I know. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit about Maman and well, the book that everyone can go and buy right now.
Well, this is my mum, and this is a story about justice, about truth, about loyalty, about family. I suppose it fits into the crime genre as domestic suspense, domestic noir. It's about a female police officer who's a child protection detective, which I used to be many years ago, and how she spirals with a postnatal depression, and she ends up being accused of hurting one of her babies. And has she? Has she not? And it's her descent into that. Sorry, there's the dog just come past. Into that. It's her descent into a very, very dark place. So the reader is hopefully thinking, well, what's going on here? And in between time, we've got a husband who is a rock. We've got police. We've got social services. And it comes from a different place to most crime fiction, I like to think, because there isn't too much like it. And for those people that aren't familiar with these systems, it's a bit of an insight into that world.
Definitely. And I've got to tell you, it's a brilliant, brilliant book. I
Thank you.
thoroughly enjoyed it. So obviously, I haven't been on that side, touch wood, thankfully, of the whole kind of police situation. But it starts off in a really interesting way, and I wasn't really sure at the beginning where you were going with it.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I felt like that the whole way through. Where's this going next? What we doing? What we doing here? But right from the beginning, do you want to explain the opening scenes because it's just so unexpected, but I don't think it's a spoiler because it's right at the beginning.
It is at the beginning, yeah. I first started writing this in 2006, and I was going through a bit of a hard time myself. It wasn't postnatal depression, but I was in a very, very difficult place. And I do dream a lot. And this came to me in a dream, but in the dream, it was me. And I was in a town centre with, I found these babies, I found these children, and this was unraveling in the dream. And I thought, I had no idea what was happening. And I ended up phoning my police department that I used to work in, asking for some help because I'd found some abandoned babies and what's this all about? And then my boss comes down and then ends up arresting me for assaulting one of the babies. And then it transpires that they were mine. And it was like I woke up in a cold sweat and I thought, wow. And I just started writing then. I started writing in 2004 and I just thought that's a short story. And I did it as a short story, and I was doing the Open University course at the time, and the tutor said, this seems like a much bigger story. So, of course, I took the challenge, and I wrote the first draft then. I finished the second draft in 2010, and there it's languished ever since until this year. So it starts off with this woman who's accused of hurting a baby that she finds to find out that it's actually her baby. And it's the story of how it all unravels.
That is the maddest thing. I think unless I've had kind of a nightmare that I need to shake off, one of those things that sticks to you.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had a dream that that could have been useful in any way, particularly not something I could have written a book from. Does that happen to you a lot?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't write books from them all, but I'd be here forever. I'd love to do it. I do dream a lot. I dream an awful lot, very vivid dreams. And I have written quite a few of them as short stories. And I think if I stopped dreaming, I did stop dreaming for a while in COVID, and I was really worried because to me, I thought, what's going on? Something's going wrong with my brain. I'm not dreaming, to the point where I was going to go to the doctor and say, I don't know what's going on, but I'm not dreaming anymore. And I've always, from being ever, since I can remember. And then they came back gradually as we got into COVID and things started to settle and we knew a bit more about what was happening. I did start dreaming again. But yeah, I do. And plot twist, if I'm stuck on something, it'll come to me. Quite often the resolution might come in a dream. And I might change it a bit, but I have done that, yeah.
That is just the most amazing thing.
I think we're fascinating, aren't they, though, the way the brain works. Yeah, sorry,
I know. No, it's fine. A lot of authors that we have on say they'll wake up and think of something and they'll write it down and go back to sleep, and then the next day it's like cat,
Gibberish.
cat milk fridge. There's a bucket. What was I thinking? It just kind of, and that's it.
Yeah, it is gibberish. I've tried to do that and it doesn't work. If I do that and write it down, it then disappears and I can't remember it. I just have to remember it when I've woken up, and that's then how I write it. So yeah.
So I'd like to talk to you about recent things that you've been up to. So just before we started, you were talking about Harrogate. So
Yeah.
clearly this is not a secret because there were plenty of witnesses to this. So
No.
did you have an interesting time with Graham Bartlett this year? Tell us about your Nick.
I had a fabulous time at Harrogate, and I volunteered to be a suspect because he and Tina Payne were doing your Nicked sessions throughout the day. And you had to pay to be a suspect, you know, it didn't come free. So I thought, okay, well, I'll try to earn my equity card. And it was all very spontaneous. The only bit of briefing I got was that I was arrested for a serious GBH where I punched a man in the head and I put him in a coma in hospital.
Like the right hook you've got there?
Yeah, so I thought, right, okay. So I thought, right, well, it was mistaken identity. I thought he was Mark Billingham. And you know, I mean, and then Tina told me I'd been arrested 46 times for harassing Mark Billingham, apparently, allegedly. So anyway, I put him in this coma, and Graham said, "Oh, right, okay, well, you're arrested," and he'd had me handcuffed. He said, "Right, we'll have to search you now." Well, at lunchtime, I'd had a salad, and I'd had a little wooden knife and fork, and I'd put the knife in my bag. So I pulled it out, threatened him with the knife. So that was quite good. And then I said, "You can't search me. I've got no knickers on." And it was just, I don't know, it was just spontaneous and it was just good fun. And yeah. But it gave them opportunity to be able to explain what happens in that situation. And obviously I was able to play the mad woman quite well.
We've got a few hellos already, so hello everyone. Leslie McAvoy saying, dreams are your unconscious mind processing experiences and thoughts. I dread to think what mine's processing, and yours.
I know. But I love the dreams. I do love them. And I do, for me, they might be a bit scary or a bit weird and off the wall, but it is the brain's way of processing, and I like that.
Donna and Sarah saying that they were at Harrogate and you were hilarious.
Yeah.
Do you get up to lots of things like that at events?
I like to get involved in things, and I do like to take part in stuff. I'd like to take part in more, to be honest. So, you know, here I am. Arrest me. No, not quite, no. No, but I do like getting involved in things and having fun. Because it is very serious business about, you know, you're trying to sell your books, you're trying to promote your books, you're networking with people. It does get very overwhelming at times, and there's lots of people, and you can get very saturated with peopling. And as much as I love it, you do need to take time out during the day from it. So it was good to be able to retreat as well. And then I'd go and have a shower, get changed, come back refreshed, and I'd put my Effie hat back on. And yeah, I like being Effie. So
I can imagine. I've taken you off on a tangent somewhere because I've got so much to talk to you about. So we'll go back to, you had this dream, and then you've placed Joanna Armstrong, DS. You placed her in this situation where she's waiting for a friend, Diane, for lunch. And in this moment, she spots this baby girl on her own. And she's looking around for the mum or the dad, you know, anyone who's with this child, not seeing anyone. But then she spots a second child. And she's really like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is the bizarrest thing. And the fact that this came from a dream is astonishing. Mm-hmm. But it was really surprising. And straight from, you know, even if you know what happens in that first chapter, straight from there, you are gripped all the way through, because it's not just told from Joanna's point of view. You know, there's other things going on. And you see the book from several people's points of view. I'm just trying to think how we've talked a little bit about what we can and can't talk about. So I'm just kind of retracing my steps in my head. But when you were actually writing that down, you dreamt it, but you're writing this thing. Did you look back and realise how good it was straight away?
I didn't. No, I didn't, because I felt it was powerful. But the minute you start putting children in situations where they could be hurt, you alienate some readers. And I didn't want to make it
Definitely.
a big injury. I didn't want to make it something mega serious. But I wanted it to be sufficient that, as a child protection detective, particularly, who used to who arrests abusers of all sorts of descriptions, I wanted to put her in that position, but it couldn't be something that was really damaging to the children.
Yeah.
And I knew it was powerful. Well, I had the benefit of writing it, submitting it for an OU assessment, which was good because I got some really good feedback on it, which helped springboard that into a bigger novel. And then I worked on it. And then in 2010, I did NaNoWriMo, and that's when I completed it, finished it. So that was like, I don't know how many edits I've done then. And then I did put it out there, but the market wasn't right for something like that at the time. But things have changed. I mean, 14 years on from then.
Yeah.
Things have changed, the market's changed. And I just thought, well, now is the time I can maybe hopefully try to get this published. So when I went back and edited it again, with the benefit of 14 years experience as a writer and also in that particular genre, I was able to tighten it further, though those first chapters didn't change much, really, to be honest. The rest of the book did change a little bit. That's the benefit of hindsight, isn't it? If I went back and wrote something, you can always change it. But I was fortunate to be able to do that and finally get it published from 18 years from having that first dream. But I wanted to also tell it from perspective of the social worker, because I think in crime fiction, there isn't too many social work protagonists. And to see it from that point of view, it's usually from a police's point of view, isn't it? Whereas this time a police officer was the suspect and her team are quite against her. And that happens because I wanted to explore the themes of bias, professional compliance, the biases we bring from a professional level and a personal level, and how it's different in different professions. And certainly around that child protection arena, what it's like to be a parent in that situation. And I think we need to give a lot more respect to parents in whatever situation they're in, because they're not used to being in that position. So to look at it from all those different perspectives, I think I didn't want it to be boring, because it's a crime book at the end of the day, but to explore those themes that generally aren't touched on in a police procedural or any crime book, really. Sorry, have I even answered that question? I've got all the way around the answer.
It's fine. The way that you've handled it stops it being boring. You're right, it could easily have been, there could have been chunks like they're out of a textbook. That isn't what you've done at all. You've literally shown it through. We're talking about kind of meetings before we went live. There are different meetings in the book where like a multi-agency focus, all the different people come together. Some the parents are involved in, some they're not, some it's just the professional organisations. You impart information in really interesting ways, so it's not like, right, okay, this is this, this is this. You know, you've got the characters talking, which makes you really pay attention to, you know, the detail.
Yeah, it is quite heavy in dialogue, and I did want to show those processes without it being boring. So if anybody's not familiar with what happens, they might learn something from that book and think, all right, okay, that works like that. I didn't know that. So I wanted it to be informative without being boring, without being, what's the word, begins with a P, can't think.
I'm the worst person to ask off the cusp. I'm always describing words to my husband.
Yeah,
and tell me which one it is.
Preachy, without it being preachy.
Preacher, yeah. Definitely not preacher, no. Yeah. There's a line that you wrote that said, I think it's either in the acknowledgements or in your author's note, and I wrote it down. It's not a true story, but it is a story based on many truths, and I think that is what gives it its heart.
Yes, it is, because I've dealt with, in my professional career, I've dealt with lots of families who've been on both sides of that system, when they've been victims and they're trying to help the children, and then also as suspects, and when they've been wrongly accused of things and when they've been rightly accused of things, and the exploration of all of those emotions and what it means, it's just immense, because there's nothing more important to somebody than their child, and we have a duty to get it right. And when professionals are working against a family, you're more likely to get it wrong. Even if you're right, you're going to get it wrong because, you know, we're all people at the end of the day, and you get much more from dealing with people on a respectful footing, on that respectful relationship, than if you go in and be accusatory right from the start. You're going to alienate people, and they're not going to want to work with you, and you're not going to get the best out of them.
You're obviously somebody with a passion and a big heart for something we talked about again before we went live is just wanting to see that people, like you were just saying, are treated fairly, and that justice is done, and that things aren't overlooked that shouldn't be, because that's just normal for them, which is not always the case. But I think in writing this, when we're looking at Joanna and we're talking about things like postnatal, what's the word I'm after?
Postnatal psychosis. Yeah.
Thank you. Things like that.
Behavioral psychosis, postnatal depression. Yeah.
That's what I was after. Thank you.
Yeah.
There must be half, if not more than that, of all of the people who will read this book who've had some experience themselves, or, you know, anyone who's been a new mum or new dad, you know, a new parent or a new grandparent. That must bring its own kind of, you know, things with it. But the way that you treat Joanna like a person, for a start, but then you see how other people respond, and the people who do treat Joanna like a person, and then there are people who treat her like a suspect because they're not really sure what's happened to little Lucy. You know, 2 4-month-old babies, nobody can neither of them can tell you what's happened. But there must be a lot of people who resonate basically with a lot of things that happen in this book. Yes. You know, people of all genders, all walks of life, all ages. You know, there's just going to be something that somebody's going to go, yeah, you've really hit that on the head.
Well, I was watching Trevor talking about his detective who has early onset dementia, and everybody is touched in some way or other by somebody in their life, a friend or a relative or somebody that they know who's had suffered with dementia.
I'll show that.
Just finished it the other day. Fabulous book, and I love it. I can't wait to read the others. Just see where he goes with it. And it's the same with postnatal depression. I think that's something that touches a lot of people's lives in some form or another, either yourself or a relative or a partner. And more, it's being acknowledged that men can suffer with it as well, in a different way to women, because with women it's very often hormonally based, whereas it's not in men. But when we look at men who hurt babies in a safeguarding perspective, children under 1, a lot of that comes from a place of overwhelming depression and inability to cope. And especially in some areas of society, there's very little help out there for men when they get this tiny little creature that they're now responsible for, that huge overwhelm. I mean, I don't touch on that in this book particularly, but I think it's another area that needs to be explored really in that wider context. And there's so much comes when you've got a little baby. And I mean, some of those experiences that I've put onto Joanna are mine. Not all of them. I didn't have postnatal depression like that, but those insecurities. What if I'm not good enough mum? How can I look at this baby? That first time you get your eldest child, this newborn baby, it's like, what on earth do I do now? It's like, how can I bring this person up to be a decent human being? And you start becoming aware. I mean, I was a police officer for 12 years before I had my first child. And I'd be running towards bombs going off in central London without a care in the world. I'd been stabbed, I'd been all sorts of injuries. And you took it in your stride. The minute I had that child, that first baby, my whole world changed. I didn't want to be in the danger zone anymore. And it's that, crikey, this is massive. And that's what I wanted to give Joanna.
And just touching on what you said about Jim, and just men in general, but Jim is Joe's husband, the father of the twins. And I'm just debating how early, it's quite early in the book, I think I'm good. It's early in Jim's section. He's come home to, you know, the house on his own with the babies for the first time. and he's trying to kind of think, right, what's Jo's routine? What does she normally do? And he suddenly kind of starts taking in all the things around him, all the things in the house, thinking of how much he isn't there for and how much he thought he was kind of pitching in, but he wasn't. And he suddenly sees Jo's situation in a completely different way, because he realizes that he thought he was really doing a lot and he really wasn't. And of course not, he was out at work, and he's a long distance lorry driver, so he needs his sleep as well. He's not kind of this awful lazy bloke. He just wasn't seeing that things were different.
That's right. And she tried to hide them as well, because she didn't know really what's wrong, but she didn't want that Vinny to crack, because she's the mum and she's supposed to be happy and everything's supposed to be all right. And he sees it through her eyes. And, he's flawed, because everybody is flawed. But I've tried to make him a decent bloke, without patronising anybody. That's the word I was looking for, patronising.
That's what Leslie typed in the chat before, patronising.
I can't see the chat, so I don't know.
Well, I've got it on my phone because, blinding us all, because we can't.
Well, if I turn that, you'll see on me. Well, there, yeah. Oh, yeah, I can do that a little bit. Oh, no. I don't know. I'll tell you what, I'll pull the blinds on that like it is here. Why didn't I think of that before? Oh, no, I've broken the thing. See, this is Effie. I've broken the cord now. Right, okay.
Oh, we really are two peas in a pod.
Right, right, where were we? Yes, Jim's flawed. I like him as a character. He has a bit of a flirt with a girl at work, and and he's a bit messy, a bit untidy, but he's very loyal and he's very, very defensive of his wife, and he wants to know what's going on, and he's not going to let anybody start accusing her. And it's goes back to that investigation where leaving no stone unturned, and it's about what you can prove as well, and what you can disprove as well as what you can prove. And he is relentless. He will not give up. And everybody needs a Jim.
Agreed. Everybody needs a Jim. Yeah. I always say every good home needs a Dave. I've got one of them. Leslie said that comment is the P word Effie was looking for. No comment on her talk, which made me laugh. Leslie, nobody thinks you're calling Effie patronising.
It is the word I was looking for, yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about some of the story. We've kind of discussed beforehand how much we can go into. But there's a statue that you want to visit, and that obviously played a part. So do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, it was. I'm not sure how long after I'd first started writing the book. About 2008, I think it was. I'd read an article in the newspaper before everything was all online, and it was about a statue, the Maman statue. And like you do, I read it and I researched the sculptress, and it was a lady called Louise Bourgeois, and she was French-American, and she lived to 99, and she was a big feminist, and she was still tutoring at University in New York, right up until a couple of years before she died. And there's 8 of these statues around the world, and there was one at the Tate Gallery, but obviously I didn't get to see that. And I read her story and why she did these statues, and it's about mothers, and it's about loyalty and the relationships with mothers and the protectiveness, and the whole thing resonated with me. And I didn't have a title for the book at that point, and I just thought, that's the title, that's what I need to call my book. And I was on a cruise. I booked a cruise in June this year because it was going to Bilbao, and we were going to go to the Guggenheim Museum, and I was going to have my photograph taken with this statue. And the second day into the cruise, we were told we're not going there, and we went to Vigo instead. So I was very, very disappointed. Spent the whole day sulking. Came home, and I've had to book another cruise so I can go. So
well, needs must.
Yeah. When the devil drives. Yeah.
Sarah really liked your book. Thought it was really interesting, very good to read.
Thank you.
Chris Beck says, "Hey up, Chris."
Hello.
Kaz says hello as well. We've got there's quite a lot of hellos and little wavy hands, which I like when people wave.
I can't see. How can I see the chat?
You'd have to go onto the Facebook and into the chat.
Oh no, I can't do that.
Go onto the event. So too many things on at once.
Too technical.
Yeah, Facebook, it's not playing nicely with other apps at the minute, so we've got a workaround that Kaz found. So yeah, the comments are there
Good.
somewhere.
Hello.
Kaz has sent me a question. Oh no, Kaz has not sent me a question. Kaz has sent me a screenshot. I must have frozen at some point.
Oh.
She sends me interesting pictures of me live while we're live. This is what you need from your best mates, right? A bit of banter. So what did you do anything this time to celebrate publication day?
I didn't actually. No, I didn't. I can't remember. But there was an awful lot going on. I just had a joint replacement on my left foot from big toe joint replacement, so I was a bit incapacitated. So I wasn't able to. But that's not to say that I won't at some point.
I like that answer.
Yeah.
Got to do something. Something's got to happen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of themes of different things that go on through this book, and one of them is obviously grief.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're talking about Joe having kind of postnatal depression and some psychosis that goes, not necessarily with that, but kind of part of the same umbrella. She's also recently lost her mum. So she's got, all of a sudden, they've gone from having this lovely little kind of 2.4 children straight off, nice, happily married couple. And then, as in real life, things just one thing after another, the dominoes fall, and the effect is this pile of dominoes on the floor. That's not really the metaphor I was going for, is it? But it's just how everything connects, and it just destroys her.
It does, and it's really hard for Jo to comprehend how her life has changed so much, because she was top of the game in her career. She had a very happy marriage. Life was ticking along. She'd had trauma in the past, because most people do have trauma in the past, and it's not a story without a bit of trauma. But then everything gets upended, and I think that's what we need, because we need a puzzle to solve. And Effie came into it. I don't know why I called my social worker Effie, but it just seemed to be the name that fitted her. And I can see her very clearly.
Yeah.
And this is like a one-off, a standalone book. There's not going to be any more. But I do like that character of Effie. So maybe, who knows, I might use her somewhere else.
I say so. Really, Effie could turn up anywhere you want.
She could. I mean, I'm writing the next Cat du Bois, and given that this is on the borders of Scotland and Cat du Bois set in Perthshire, there's no reason why at some point their lives couldn't intertwine.
I can hear the people watching, cheering. We do love it when a character shows up somewhere that we're not expecting them.
Yeah.
Well, that's something very popular.
And I like putting things in my books, like, if you know, you know, and it's like a nod to certain friendships or to certain groups of people that I'm connected with, or names that have not full names of people I know, because I haven't used anybody's full name, not yet, but I'm open to offers when I've got characters I need a name for. So, yeah.
Oh, offers. You wanted to do some sort of giveaway.
Yes, I have this big book, which no part of my publisher will be able to explain. It's quite a large special edition size of She's Not There. And I would like to give it away. I need a question now, don't I?
It's up to you. It's up to you how you do it. You can ask people to answer something and they can chuck an answer in. So if that's what we're going to do, fingers at the ready, everyone. Or you can ask something in the group. It's up to you, however you want to go about it. Just how big is this book?
Big, right.
I think that's a really special thing to have.
Right, so it's like
A4. Okay.
Yeah. So it's certainly a special edition, that's for sure. And it's I think there's only 5 of them, so that's fine. I mean, should I ever become really famous like my writing heroes, it might be worth something one day. But if not, it's nice to have on the shelf.
Just while you're having a think about what you want to do, Sarah's saying, me. Pick me for a friend to the victim.
For a victim?
For a
Okay.
friend to the victim.
All right. Okay.
She's been very specific about that. I don't think Sarah wishes to be murdered in a book.
No. Well, actually, have I got a murder in the next? Yeah, well, I have got a murder, but it's already written, so yeah.
We'll have a think.
But I've just done a
Go on.
great thing today because I'm writing 2 books simultaneously, and I'm not getting very much further with either of them. So I'm going to have to stop one and just do one, and it has to be a captive work because I'm on a deadline for that one. But the other one, I've just I love ancestry, and I've tied that in with my next new series, and I've just discovered where my great grandmother was in 1921, and it's a perfect fit for the book. So I love doing all of that, like putting bits of reality, like real life bits, into fiction. So that's
Have you
just a big.
found that easy to do, the ancestry stuff? I feel like I don't know enough about family history to get further than maybe 1 or 2 people at the most.
No, I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. And I've been doing it for quite a long time now. And of course, I tried to do it before we had all the online stuff, and I didn't get very far. But the minute the online stuff kicked in, I've been doing it for quite a while, and I've done my DNA, and I love getting those DNA connections and finding out those secrets. And all of our grandmother's secrets aren't secrets for much longer.
This is the thing, nobody wants to talk, do they? Nobody wants to tell anybody anything. There are the keepers of secrets, and then there's the rest of us wondering what on earth's going on.
Yeah, yeah. But no, I love all of that research and turning it into fiction.
So the 2 projects you're working on at the moment, you said you've got the Cat Noir book. What about the other one that you're putting down for the moment?
That's the one that I'm looking to get out there with a big publisher and agent next year, hopefully, fingers crossed. I've got a working title of Not My Mother, Jeannie Brown, and it's like a family saga, but it opens with a dead body on the beach in Felixstowe, so in 1944. So we flip between present day and past, and yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I really want to write it, but I've got a day job and grandchildren and another book to write, so yeah,
kind of impossible sometimes juggling everything. At least you're actually writing.
Well, yes, yeah.
Get in there. Sarah says, Domino the Staffy is free for treats if you need a name for a dog.
Domino.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have got a
And
dog. In fact, what I must do, the one I'm writing at the minute, I forgot there was a dog, so I'm gonna have to go back in and like fix in about the dog. Because if I don't put the dog in, I'll get criticised, and I can't kill it off because you're not allowed to kill off animals, are you? So kill anybody you like, just not
people do. People do, and some people regret doing it, and some people are just saying, well, you know, this was part of the story. Tricky one because you can do whatever you want to an adult, but you know, don't touch the kids and the pets.
No.
Very tricky one.
The dog's going to have to stay, and then in the next book after this one, I'll just have to have it pass away in between times because it's complicated. It's complication you don't need.
I know Mike Craven says about Edgar that he gets more posts or emails, whatever, about where Edgar is than anything else.
Yeah. Well, I just realised I was halfway through this, and I thought I haven't mentioned the dog. So then I've had to invent scenarios with the dog in, or insert it somewhere, or make it a plot device.
I don't know. Maybe they're too busy, and a family member who's got a nice farm can take them.
Yeah.
We've all got a family member with a farm, surely.
Yeah. Might leave it with the neighbour, actually.
That's what Mike does.
Yeah.
Mike leaves Edgar with Victoria. Yeah.
Right.
And then points out that that's where Edgar is.
I get accused of pinching his idea.
Hey, it's a good idea. It works.
Yeah.
It can't be the only one, can it? Sarah says she heard one author gave their dog to another author for their series.
That's a good idea.
That's funny. I'm trying to kind of keep looking at the comments, but it's going too slowly on the other screen. So I'll see if it'll update us in a minute, because we've got quite a few more and I just can't see them. Why Facebook makes it awkward is beyond me.
Oh, I don't know. It crashed before I came online, and I thought, crikey.
I just kind of, when you just think, yeah, you just give up. It's ridiculous. Guy Hale says his dog will be a serial killer. Can't take him anywhere. Cannot take him anywhere.
I do like the idea.
Doug Sinclair says never, ever, 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 ever. Have I got all the evers in there, Doug? Kill the dog?
No, I'll never kill the dog. I do, I mean, a bit of a plot spoiler, but I do kill a pheasant. Is that all right?
People eat pheasants. I don't see why not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not as... I just kind of think if there's a scene that you don't like, there is no harm in skipping it. If you know roughly what happens, you can skip a couple of paragraphs. It's not the end of the world. You do want to read the full book, but I just think if you want to read the book, then you'll get past whatever's written.
Yeah. I don't want to alienate readers, though, so I'll have to find something to do with this stuff.
Which leads nicely onto this comment. Donna said someone once told her they took a dog dying out from their book and the sales increased loads.
Right, well, we just won't kill the dog. I just have to find someone else to have it or something.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know what... I'm not looking at... Guy, what are you... No, I'm going to move on from that. I'm a bit confused by him. Sarah says you could have a dog sitter.
I could have a dog sitter.
Could go off with the dog walker.
No, if I have a dog sitter, they'll end up getting murdered. So yeah, that's not going to work. That's not going to work.
Glad I hadn't had a sip before you said that. No, I'm not reading that one either. Oh, Leslie was saying she's had a sneak peek of the genealogy book and it's amazing.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. Thank you. Yeah. I just really want to... That's my new series, my genealogy detective investigator. And she unravels people's secrets from the past. And I'm just so excited about it.
That's really clever. I love that idea.
Don't pitch my idea, anybody, please. Don't pitch my idea. Because I just absolutely love her. And it is based on some truths, but you would only know them if you were part of my family, and they deny them anyway, so they can't say I've pinched them. So
I've got a rule of 3. If you can find 3 different people who aren't known to each other, who all have a similar story, then it's fair game.
Yeah, yeah.
Because then it becomes kind of a universal truth then. If it's happened to several people.
And there's something about 100 years. There's 100 years cut off, isn't there? So I think it's because I think people don't live past 100. So if you write about anything that's over 100 years old, not in this next one, but in future books, I've got a plan for a future book that's over 100 years old, which is based on a truth. So it's something to do, I don't know, it's copyright or something. Copyright is 70 or 80 years or something, but I don't know. It's all different legislation and GDPR and all the rest of it. But if somebody says it didn't happen and then you write it, well, you said it didn't happen. So the fact I've written it, I'm not pinching anybody's story because it didn't happen, did it?
So around everything you've got going on, and I like to ask people this because it gives everybody else some tips, basically. We're mining you for knowledge. How do you find time to write or make time to write around everything else? You're talking about work, writing, grandkids, family, everything that you've got going on. What is your way of juggling everything?
Well, I pinch time, to be honest. I pinch time, and I just love to do it. So sometimes I can only even get a paragraph written. So if I've got the grandkids and they've stopped being boisterous and they want to watch a bit of TV, and they've got Bluey on, for example, and they're quite happy sitting there because they've got a TV, and my office is their toy room, or rather my toy room is their office. And so I think, right, they're okay. They're quiet for 20 minutes, and I've got this piece I want to write. So I'll write it. And I just feel so much better for having done it. I'm not a morning person, no way whatsoever. I have tried previously getting up a bit earlier to do some writing, and I've done it, but it's not my best work, and I just can't do it. I'd rather write at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night than get up early and do it. So it's just pinching time. So like if I've got a busy schedule and I've got meetings for the day job, but I've got maybe an hour and a half, so I might have some lunch and I come back. I think, right, okay, I'm just going to write a bit now because it switches my head. And of course, because I work in safeguarding, some of it can be quite intense work.
Yeah.
So I just go and murder somebody, or I'll put them in a difficult situation, or get them out of a situation. Depends what mood I'm in, really, or where I'm at because I don't write chronologically. I'll write. I do write chronologically, but beyond that, I also write scenes as they come to me. So if I've got an idea, because I don't plot either, but if I've got an idea that comes to me for further in the book, I'll write it. So then when I've got it all pretty much written, I'll print it all off and then put it together like a jigsaw puzzle, and then go and edit and fill all the gaps in. So I'll just write scenes. I might not even know where the scene will fit in until I come to the end. And then I might not even be able to fit it in. But I just pinch time, really.
I think that's, yeah, I know I've had people who've said kind of they've been sat in the car waiting for the kids to come out of football training, or, you know, things like that, and 10 minutes here and there. I think it's one of those things you can probably either do, or you'd have to work very hard to train yourself to do, or you're never going to manage to kind of focus your brain enough.
I think because I don't plot and I don't plan. If I planned, you can't write spontaneously, I don't feel, for me. It wouldn't work for me. So like when the kids were younger, they all used to go to army cadets, and we lived in Scotland, and it was like, I don't know, quite away from where we lived. So rather than go back home again, I would drop them off, and then I'd go and sit in the car, or go and sit and have a lemonade or a coffee somewhere. And then I would use that time and write, or read and catch up on emails, but I would use some of that time to write. And I was going backwards and forwards on the train. So I like writing on a train. I just love it. I just find it so inspirational, writing on a train. I don't do so many train journeys now, especially since I've got my suitcase nicked. I'm trying to avoid them. But I'm going on a train tomorrow. I'm going to York to Leslie's book launch tomorrow night. So I'm thinking, shall I take my laptop? Shall I do some writing? Or shall I just read? Because, again, if I can't do both, I sacrifice reading time for writing time sometimes. And there's so many books I want to read. And, you know. So I've got
when I want to read a book, I book the author in for an interview, because there is no other way it's happening.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I managed to pick up a book to read it just because I had time to read it.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't know. I'm sure I've probably told somebody about it at some point, but goodness knows when. Leslie says you can't libel the dead. She checked for the Jack the Ripper thread in Murder Mile. Are you good there? Can't libel the dead.
Good.
Doug says his wife says pheasants are kamikaze birds anyway, and she's a vet nurse.
Oh, well, it's not a roadkill thing. This is a deliberate thing, and they shove it through a letterbox. So there's like a warning type thing. So well, it could have been roadkill, couldn't it? And then I'll make it roadkill, and then they chop the head off.
Could have been roadkill. Yeah, of course it could.
Yeah.
Sarah Moorhead, who I was thinking of when you talked about doing early, trying to get up earlier.
Yeah.
Thought of you then, Sarah. She said the dog can go and live with an old lady who needs him.
Good idea. Actually, Sarah, I was going to email you today. I've got a dress with pockets in.
Okay, this is such a, I don't know what it is, but there's I went to my daughter's graduation the other week, and I got a dress, and I never wear dresses. I live in my jeans and my Skechers, and it's got pockets.
I know, pockets. Pockets. Did you see the conversation on Facebook last week? Dress with pockets. It's like they must be coming back in fashion, because I've had two recently with pockets, and brilliant. I made my husband take a photograph, and I was going to Facebook it to Sarah.
You should. She's done yay in capital letters, pockets, loads of exclamation marks. And Sarah's saying she's an early bird, and Guy's saying how big's the letterbox?
Big enough.
Big enough, that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
All you need to know. So what have you managed to read recently that you've enjoyed?
Trevor's book, fabulous, Silent Killer.
Silent Killer, yeah, brilliant.
And now I've started, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I've started a friend's book who it isn't published yet, but it's set in my hometown. And it's a police procedural. And given that I policed my hometown, she said, could I have a read of it? So I've only started the first chapter the minute I finished Trevor's. And I'm so excited about reading it because I just want to see how she's portrayed it. Not that I'm going to be critical, but on a helpful point of view, if there's
yeah, of course.
You know, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then I'm going to Leslie's book launch tomorrow night, where I'll pick up her next one, and that's next on my list. Having said that, I've got bookshelves here full of books, and we're moving, and I'm going to have to downsize. And other authors,
oh, that's brutal.
Readers,
downsize your book.
I know. I have spent all of my life gathering all of these books, and this is like my mini library. I don't want to get rid of any book. In fact, I want more books, and I buy books. How on earth can they force me to get rid of my books? And how do you pick? How do you do it?
Well, none of your signed ones are going. None of the books you love are going. None of the books by your friends are going. None of the books that you read in that are part of an ongoing series are going. None of the standalones by those authors are going.
I know.
Have I just saved most of your books?
Yes. I have got one bookcase behind me there. That one is, if I can do it. That one's all non-fiction, and it's full of like help books and things like that. I might be able to sacrifice them, perhaps, because if it haven't helped me now, they're not going to help me ever, really. So, you know.
You've just not had the right time on the right day yet. I'm never, ever, ever the person who's going to help you get rid of books.
I know.
If you could see the rest of my office, which fortunately I can't turn off, I've got lots of books behind me, but I'm scared to try and reach up and grab. Because, look, there's witnesses there as well. But it's all these piles of books everywhere. I do need more bookshelves. They just make a lot of stacks in place. It's like books. It's just,
I know.
I don't know how you just even start to cut that down.
Well, I've still got boxes in the attic as well. Well, anyway, it's a problem for another time because I'm just going to try to sneak them all in, and I'll have to fit them in when we move. So
we've got some interesting ideas. Joanna, you don't need a few books; you need more bookcases.
Yes, exactly. That's what I said.
Leslie said, "Keep the library downside the family."
Leslie said what?
Keep the library downside the family.
Yes, very good. I like that idea. Yeah.
That's really amusing. Oh, there are some cracking images of those things. They look great in all of them. Very thoughtful and very so good. Right, so you've got Leslie's events tomorrow night. What things have you got coming up? Have you got any book signings for you? Are you interested in selling signed copies?
Well, I've got an event on the 11th of August with yourselves and Neil Lancaster and George Smith. Is it George Smith? I don't know George, so I'll have to look him up. And then I've got another short story collection being published in September, which is Blood Oranges, My Love, which is the third collection of short stories that most of them have been published previously or been entered in competitions and that sort of thing. That's September. I'm going to Bloody Scotland in September, but I'm not appearing there. And I think that's it for the minute. I've just got to get this next
quite busy.
Yeah, I've got to get this next book written because I've now got a deadline for it, which is the 1st of October. And when I get in the zone, and hopefully, well, I was hoping to have the summer August free, but now I've got childcare to do for my grandkids. I'm not sure, but I am going to really try to make a good headway with that because once I get into it, I can write a lot of words a day. So yeah, 1st of October is that deadline for publication. Hopefully the beginning of next year, but we've got to see really. And then I just need to get on with this genealogy one because I just so much love it.
Yeah, it's good. You've found lots of different things to like go with different bits of your brain, scratch different itches, it seems.
Yeah. Well, my genealogy detective is an ex-cop, so that's good. And her husband is still a cop. and she discovers her own family history, and she's also dealing with other people's cases as well. So, and she's in a wheelchair, which it's not her excitement. The excitement comes from people's past histories. So it's about, filling that with excitement and dark secrets, and things like, anybody who watches Long Lost Family and DNA Secret and all of those programs, Who Do You Think You Are? I think there's a whole generation, more than one generation of people that love those programs. So the stories are endless. They just all need a crime element, don't they?
Yeah, I bet a lot of them have got something in there lurking somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And who is who they think they are? How many of us,
Yeah.
So, and the
Yeah,
secrets we want to keep, and DNA now, there's no secrets.
Yeah, I am fascinated by the DNA kits, but I've never done one.
Oh, I suppose you've got to be prepared for anything that might come up. I did mine years ago, but it was only last year that I discovered, through a DNA connection, a half cousin came up, and through the DNA connection and doing their family tree, I found out my mum's dad is not actually a dad. They passed away now, and there's my mum's brother and sister that are left. And when I went to them and spoke to them, they're not having any of it. They think it's a fluke and it's wrong. Well, DNA doesn't lie. I've done so much research into it, and I've got all of these DNA connections that I couldn't place that now have all fitted into place.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's exploring all of that. How is that possible? So we all have mysteries.
Yeah. And I suppose that's why we all love crime fiction.
Yeah.
Because there's mysteries, there's secrets and lies, there's drama that we can kind of be part of without actually really being involved in.
Yeah.
We can have a really good nosy into people's lives without it being a really personal, inappropriate thing.
It's research.
Of course it is.
It is research. And, I just love people's lives and the psychology and what drives us to do the things we do. And we've all got secrets. We're all flawed. Some of us mask it better than others. Some of it don't mask it at all. But when you dig it beneath, we're all human at the end of the day. And it's what is it that makes us human? Yeah. And what can we forgive and what can't we forgive? And where does that line cross? It's like Hugh Edwards. My daughter is 25 and she's distraught. She grew up with Hugh Edwards on her television, and it's like one of the biggest life's disappointment, the way she was so upset yesterday about and today. And it's just like, well, you just never know. You just never know. And, people hide in plain sight, don't they? We don't ever let those deepest, darkest secrets seep out if we can avoid it. And that's the elements of crime fiction.
And what a great note to end on. That is, the elements of crime fiction. Tell everyone where they can go and buy Maman, and give us a little recap of it, because I feel like we've touched on it a bit, but I felt like we had to be really careful about what we could and couldn't discuss.
Give any spoilers. Yeah, I don't want to give any spoilers.
There's some bloody cracking characters in this. And one in particular, everyone who knows me, when you read it, you'll know who I mean. You'll know exactly who I cannot stand when you get to her. And talk to me about it when you get up to that bit. Anyone who's picking it up off the TBR now. That's the thing, we can't kind of discuss things that are going to be a spoiler, but this one character was so infuriating, but that was so good how you got my goal.
Oh, thank you. Good.
Anyway, give us a recap and show us.
It's Maman. It's about a child protection detective who's suffers again, who suffers with postnatal depression, who is then accused of hurting one of her babies, and it's her fight for justice to find the truth. And she's got a cracking social worker and the support of a husband who really, really try to help her get to the end result, and she's up against it. So if you like truth and justice, and you like stories that are domestic, about people's families, people's psychology, why they do what they do, and how we end up in these situations and how we get out of them, then read the book. It's available on Amazon. Rob Parker did tell me it's supposed to be available on Waterstones online, but I don't know whether it is or not yet. And Last Train Through Pitlock Recap did 1, number 2 is coming soon, and my third short story collection, Blood Oranges, My Love, in September. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone who's watched and joined in and taken the mickey. We do like a bit of banter.
Oh, absolutely.
And I will see you again in a few weeks because you were on a police procedural panel for us, and I cannot wait. So thank you so much, Effa.
Thank you.